So, welcome to the chapter room, a book club meeting in the Nebula House. And today we have a very interesting meeting to have, which is the Metamorphosis by Frank Kafka. Again, we're in the month, or we're in the season, I would like to use the word, of existentialism, understanding the search for meaning and what is important, and how we categorize what is important. Now, today, we're supposed to have more guests than we do, but here we are with Nair, who has read the book and has a lot to say about the book. Now, before we get into the conversation, one thing I have to mention is that um, this book is a very interesting book, and if you're watching this and you haven't had the opportunity to read it, I think you should. But more importantly, I think that the book, I must warn you, you will be changed by the book in ways that I cannot possibly explain in words. So, welcome, and I hope you try to understand the words that are going to come out from my mouth. So, welcome there.
Thank you, Kelechi.
So, question, real quick, and this is a question we ask the people that come on this show is: what was your first? What did you think of the book before you read it? When I said, "Oh hi, Nair, come and do a book club meeting with us for the Nebula House, Frank Kafka." What did you expect from the name of the book, and what was your experience post reading the book? So just try and just oppose the two.
Okay, so when I got the book, I wasn't sure what to expect because it was a very short read.
Mm?
And I'm like, okay, maybe this is going to be very straight to the point. It's going to be some philosophical. I was expecting my mind was open. So
Oh, okay, fair.
yeah, I had quite a very open mind. And then after reading the book, I have questions that I don't even have answers to.
Yeah, that's very typical.
It's very honestly, I finished reading the book and I just lay on my bed and I was looking up to screen like, what the hell am I? That was actually my question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I should say this right now, but when I knew we were going to do some sort of introduction, I was like, when you asked me, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I hope I don't center my identity around work.
Yeah,
Because who am I?
exactly.
Because that's what this book threw me. Like the questions I started asking myself, like
Yeah.
outside of work, who are you?
What exactly?
And I don't have the answers today. So I'm like, I hope you don't tell me to introduce myself because all I was going to say was, hi, I'm Chineye and I'm Kelechi's friend. Nice to meet you too. Honestly.
Interesting.
So thank you for not asking me for my...
So the interesting thing about the book is I have heard about it, and to be honest, reading it for this show was the first time I read about. I had picked up the book, and so I used the Kindle to read the Amazon Kindle. I think I mentioned in the first episode, and when I was reading it, and I read it, I tried to read it like public spaces, and I'm making like expressions on my face, and someone came to meet me and asked me, "What are you reading?" I'm like, I had told the person it was Metamorphosis because at every point I was like, what is going on? Like
Exactly how I felt.
like
So what is going on?
Like what is going like so it almost felt, I know this is fiction, but it almost felt real.
Mm-hmm.
It almost felt like this actually happened and the writer was reporting an actual event. And because of the way the book is structured, every time I read the book, every time I read a particular section of it, I had to stop reading and sit back and think. I'm like, yes, there are a lot of symbols, and then obviously we're going to talk about the symbols in the book, or what's the most important things that you pick from the book. But there are a lot of symbols, and those symbols you can read it and just think, oh, this is just a particular furniture in the room, or something in the room, or a particular event, or a particular object in the room. But in reality, or it symbolizes a part or a structure of ourselves. And again, we'll go into that. I don't want to bore you guys with the philosophical jargons, but it is a very interesting book. So the second question I have is what is the most memorable part of your reading? Like the whole, when you read, what was something that you're like, okay, this is a good book. At what point at what points did you realize, okay, Frank Kafka is either a madman or just very blessed by God?
I think Genuinely speaking, I haven't read any book that made me question my existence. Maybe that's why I'm so stunned by, especially with how it started. Like with how it started, a man waking up and he's a bug.
Yeah.
It was the most like, what do you mean you're a bug or you are an insect or whatever it was?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe he's dead and this is just some sort of
Yeah.
trying to show us how his family reacted to his death and they couldn't see him. At first I didn't understand it, but just because of how it was beautifully written, I think the whole book for me was just a standout because it was beautifully written so that when I caught the memo, I think it was just after when his manager had left the house. And I'm like, this guy is alive because at first I thought, okay, his family were interacting with him because, okay, he's dead and they can still relate. And then when the manager actually saw him and reacted and left, and I'm like, oh my God, this is real.
Yeah.
And with how the book just spiraled, I'm like, okay, this is such a very beautiful book. Like I said, I haven't read any book that made me question my existence so much. And like, are we really just here because of work? And you know, too much to share. But yeah, let me stop there.
So the thing is, I'm struggling to not. I'm trying to make sure I don't give you guys a summary of this book because I don't want to.
Thing too.
I'm not trying to give a summary so that you go and read it. Remember, the whole point we're having this conversation in the Nebula House is to encourage you to first read and write, and so we want to tell you what we learned, our experiences, and so you go read the book and have your own personal experiences. And I genuinely don't think it's going to be so different from our individual experience. The point when I realized that the book was, to answer the question that I asked you, was so, maybe the way I read, I'm a very visual person. When I read, I paint the picture in my head. The point where he was trying to get up from the bed and the way the author described the struggle of getting up from the bed and the shit. At the point, I was like, I could literally picture a cockroach like a roach, like turned upside down and, the hands are flickering. And I'm like, just try to, and so at that point, it really, I almost got, I was like, you know what? I wanted to just get into the book and flip the guy and let's
go.
Let's go.
Right. I agree with you. It was such a stroke. And that's why, for me, unfortunately, at that point, I hadn't caught that this is what his struggle is.
Yeah.
I was still like, okay, this cannot be it.
Yeah.
Like, this nigga didn't just wake up. This man didn't just wake up.
That's right.
You just wake up and turn to a bug. Maybe they're trying to tell us something else. And I was like, okay, this is a lot of struggle.
Yeah.
This is a lot of struggle.
And they also spend so much time highlighting struggle.
Yes. That's why it was hard for me to believe that, this is a bug we're talking about.
Yeah, he spent so much time. It's like at the point I was like, why? So you said that the book made you question. So what are the answers, if there are any actually, that you were able to get from the questions you asked, even to yourself, in terms of meaning? What am I? Who am I? Like what are those things that the book? What are the questions that the book made you ask yourself? And obviously, you said some you don't have answers to, and some maybe I hope you have answers. Maybe not a fully structured answer, but what are those? Like, just give like 2 questions that you made you think,
I think most importantly, before like the identity part, I would say that it was more like value.
Yeah.
There was a lot of value. Like, if I cannot provide the value that I currently, I started to ask myself, apart from what I do for work,
what else?
What other things what kind of value do I bring to the people around me? I asked myself that question, and I don't know that. I think I have answers, but still all over the place, right? So that's one question that I'm like, okay, what value can I actually say that I bring to people around me? And if I cannot bring that value anymore, am I still Chineye today?
Fair. Correct.
Yeah. Especially with family, not even just like external people now. And I ask myself, like, what's the value that I bring to my family? And if something happens and it's taken away tomorrow, am I still Chineye today?
Yeah.
And I don't know that as humans, we can remain ourselves without the value we bring. I don't know. I was going to ask, what do you think about being humans? Like, do you think we can exist outside of the values that we especially for family, because that's what it wasn't even like external, it was family.
It was family, yeah.
Yeah.
So, very, very interesting question, because what I was even going to say is that when I was reading the book, when I first started reading the book, I just thought about, okay, why is this guy bothering so much about his job? That's the first thing. Like, he's like, okay, I have to wake up. I have to wake up. He's struggling. You're a bug. Like, that is a bigger fish to fry. You know, you can't wake up turned into a different human being. And what you're wondering and what you're bothering about is, I think I need to make it to work on time. So, like I said initially, there were symbolisms, right? It's what that signified to me, and I'm not saying this is what Frank Kafka was thinking, but what that signified to me was the work you do, not the value now, because we have to separate work and value, right?
Mm-hmm.
The work that you do can make you an entirely different person. And I think that was the first thing that highlighted, that stood out to me, that this, like, it can make you an entirely different person. You don't know what really mattered. That's number one. Number two is, when the family, the manager showed up at his house, and I was thinking about maybe in the Nigerian context, if you don't come to work, would your manager show up? And was the manager showing up because he cared that this guy would be dead, or did he show up to even literally, the captain said the man showed up as though he wanted to report him to his family, saying, exactly, this is why this man is not succeeding. And it made me realize, there was this also highlighted toxic work environment and all whatnot. But again, another symbolism is, in that particular story for me, was when the manager ended up seeing him, he was the first person to take off.
Yeah.
And that just showed you, again, like I said, symbolism, that when they hit the fan, the people that remain are the people that actually are very, very important. So now, to the question of work and value, or the value to family, his sister was the one that really, like, how his sister handled it got to me a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we saw was a lady, his younger sister, seeing her brother turn to an ugly figure, and yet didn't she didn't shy away. She even stepped up and said, "Oh, it's going to help him." And for me, that really made me realize that at the end of the day, family is first important. But what made her do that was that he was paying off her violin classes or something. She wanted to go into theatrical art, and her father didn't think it was an important thing to do, but he was investing money in it. And it just made me realize, at the end of the day, these are the people that do matter. So that's how I looked at the work. And that's how I'm going to answer the question. It's very deep, but I don't equate work to value. That's how I left the book. The book left me in a situation where work does not equal to value. And if your work is your value, then it's dangerous. I've seen a lot of people that die after retirement. Once they retire, and they have to stay back at home, and they're not going to work by 8:00, and they begin to degenerate or deteriorate quicker than when there's work. Now, the question that I have to your question is, we need to work. I mean, we need to eat, we need to work. And I'm not going to stay here and say, chase your passion, in as much as, if you can, look at me now. Right? So I'm not going to say chase your passion, but the question is, when does work become valuable? When are you, do you, no, I think the better way to put it is, where do we get the value of work? Do you get the value of work from, and this is a question I want you to answer, do you get the value of work from doing the work or the result of the work? What I mean is, for me personally, the work pays bills.
Mm-hmm.
If my parents are ill, or some emergency happens, the fact I'm able to attend to such emergencies is what gives the value of the work that I bring.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is one. Another value of work could be that you get promoted at work. Another value of work is that it just gives you a sense of belonging, and there is nothing monetary attached to it. Another sense of value of work can be something transcendent, like a pastor or some clergy people who do not who go into full sanctimonious puritanical lives, right? So how do you balance work and value? So that's the question that I want to hear your opinion on.
For me, you know what's interesting is, I when I read Gregor's story, it wasn't just because he was employed that hit me. I thought of it like if he was also a businessman that owned his business, he would wake up feeling like a bug and want to show up at work because now this is what I thought. Because he felt that he was valuable to his family in the sense that he was providing a lot of things for his sister, his family. So whether or not it was his business or it was work, he was going to put that first in the sense that he didn't feel like himself anymore if he couldn't provide those values. So I think for me, the line is, if I'm being paid to do the work or I do it by myself, I want to be able to, because whether it's my business or someone else's business, it can stop tomorrow. I may not be able to physically meet up with this, right? But how am I able to still feel like I belong? Because I can still provide
Family,
I mean, value for my family or value for the people that I love.
So perception becomes a very important conversation here because maybe he values the work because he first values the family.
Well,
so that is another thing I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you value the work because you first value the family. That's one. Maybe you're valued by the family because of the work.
Which is what I think.
So it
Which
could
is what
be,
I think was Gregor's situation.
So it could be a cycle. It could be you value your family. That is the independent factor here. So therefore, you value the work that provides for the family. Or the family values you because of the work. Or put it in a better way, your family values the work because the work provides for them. So you are just a medium, an exchange, a pipeline
Which
from
is very tricky.
Yeah, which is very tricky. So it is why I was. It made me like see.
What do you think it was with Gregor?
With Gregory? To be honest, I think Gregory wanted. I felt like he had a relationship with his father that made it seem his father always questioned his value. He seemed like he had a childhood that they always questioned. It's like how we grew up in an African home, then your parents think that the most important thing you can do is law, engineering, doctor, or whatever. You wake up and you want to be a football star or a music star, you're like, what is even that? So the question is, I feel for Gregory's case, I think he wanted to prove to his family he was valuable.
Yeah.
And the only way he could do that was to
show up at work,
and pay the bills. And that is low-key the life of many people.
I agree.
The only thing is that they have not woken up in the morning to see themselves as bugs. So people realize this when shit hits the fan, when there is a crisis, when they are terminally ill or when they run into disabilities that reduce their function at work, and then they realize that the uncle or the brother or the friend that always shows up that comes to your parties or the one that you hang out with really doesn't really necessarily value you as a individual, but the value you bring. So that's what I think it was for Gregor's case. What I find even more interesting, and this is the second section of this conversation, is when I was reading it, and at the point his sister brought food for him. And how the first thing that stood out to me was how Gregory did not like good food. Like I was like, okay, maybe at first I was like, this may be just be all physical appearance. I'm not expecting it to. I wasn't expecting an influence in the kind of food he wanted to eat. I wasn't expecting even in the way he saw I just thought it was going to be. He still liked to eat whatever food he liked to eat when he was a human being, but this was just a physical appearance. Then I realized he liked to eat dirty food. He liked to eat food that a normal dog would want to eat. And it now made me realize, what does that? What at the end of the day, what does that even really symbolizes? Does it symbolize that we do? Does that mean we add too much? Does that mean the value of the things we want? Because the food in my opinion, the way I read it, symbolizes the things we want to get, the satisfaction we get from work, good food, the house, the car, the phone, whatever.
I think your mic is off.
Is it? No, it's not.
Okay, no, okay.
Yeah. So those are the things that made me realize, okay, when you run into issues and you become a bug, it's not how fine the phone is or how latest the phone is. It is the fundamental things that may seem not mundane, that may seem insipid, like, because he wasn't going for the best of the food. He wanted like, he had the option, actually. That's very, very interesting, to choose between good food and bad, and food that bugs will eat. And he constantly chose bulk food. And it made me say, does this mean in a case where you go to work, you spend 60, 50, 30 years of your life working, and the risk you're putting yourself is have a good family, children who care about you, have friends, or you're choosing to just be someone who is never going to be cared for, so these are those symbolisms. So a question I have for you is in your genuine question, do you think that we have people who can play the role of a sister? Be it the role of a sister as a friend, or the role of a sister as an actual sister, or the role of a sister as... Maybe I should even make it a more interesting question. Do you think you would play the role of a sister?
I think I would.
Okay. Again. Okay.
I think I would.
What do you think? What importance is the role of a sister, and how would you?
I think I would, because, again, I don't know that I would have without reading this book. Because before then, I think before we got to the ending, I asked myself a question that, did his sister care because of the value that he was bringing? Because he was already doing stuff for her, not just because of sisterly love?
That's a good question.
That's what I asked myself. So if he was already, for example, a useless son, or he just drank, would she care as much as she did? Or would she just, well, let me check in on you? Because she was persistent to a very large extent.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know that.
That's a good question.
I don't know that I would, genuinely speaking, if I had a situation where before this person turned from a 50 to a, like, before they went really bad, if they weren't bringing value to me, I don't know that I would be as persistent as...
Very interesting, because now the value is not the person, but what you have just said.
Yeah. Like, this is me being raw, honest. I don't know that because I asked myself that, okay, maybe she's doing this because he was already that brother that mattered. If he didn't matter, would he just be the law? Or would it just be because she was obligated to? Because, you would expect that the mother, because mothers are the ones that are always very, this is my son, this is, from what we know. And she wasn't that. Sure, she didn't have it. And they didn't really explain the relationship between, before then. So I don't know, genuinely. It's also one of the questions that I don't have the final answers to. But I wanted to say something about the identity. When you said, even as a bug, he chose bug food. And I think when I read it and how I interpreted it was that, when we find ourselves in shit situations, we tend to, make that our identity.
Correct.
Yes. So if you're currently in a situation where you're not able to, you're not just your best anymore. You're a bug. Like, you wake up morning and then things are just bad. You identify as a bug. And I think I don't know that humans are able to, you must have very strong will to say, okay, even if I'm wearing the skin of a bug, I'm not a bug. Because he's really not a bug at the end of the day. Right? Okay, maybe it should have taken longer. Like, he just woke up and accepted that.
No, again, did he accept me? So you see, this is sorry, right? This is one of the issues about reading philosophical books, because these are questions. Because did he accept it as though? Okay, so this is what it is. I don't like it, but this is what it is. Accepting the reality, and there is knowing the reality has to change. So there are two different things.
Right.
We have hit rock bottom. I cannot say I don't accept that I've hit rock bottom. You have to, we have hit rock bottom. Things are not going as well as they should be. I think from there, we can progress. So it's not the question of being, it's the question of, okay, is he really a human being because he was a human being? Is he really a human being because there's a human being in the bog? Is he a bug because once he was a human, now he's a bug? Let's just accept that reality and move on. So those are the questions.
It's interesting
Yeah.
because I mean my interpretation of this is in real life, no human is actually going to turn into a bug.
Yeah, but again, these are symbolisms.
Yes, I know, but then so the bug here signifies or symbolizes, very awful situations.
Correct.
Maybe irreversible, like you can't
Correct.
come out
from it.
But I don't think that it is. Maybe I'm just being emotional here, but I don't think it's such a right mindset to just we're a bug today, no wahala. This how I don't know why he didn't
fight.
he didn't fight, especially mentally.
Mentally, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that
I
he fought
agree.
mentally. Again, we don't know that. Maybe
See, another thing that I find interesting, and I think I wanted to also address, you when I asked you the question about if you have the sister is, and I was having this conversation 3 weeks ago with a close friend of mine, and we were talking about value, and I made a statement, and I stand by this statement, to be honest. I have friends that are closer to me than my cousins. Not all my cousins, but than my cousins.
Fair enough.
I have friends that I would die for, literally, and I have cousins that. Now, I mean, so the idea of the premise of our conversation with my friend was that blood relationship is, I mean, we are already we are predestined to be together. I don't see that because we are from the same bloodline, then we are going to be the closest of friends just simply because of that.
Of course.
I think that what the book highlighted and what I highlighted for me is that no matter the relationship or relational connection in terms of family, there is a question of how important are you to people? Because at the end of the day, let's be honest with ourselves. People are going to judge you. Even me speaking, I'm going to judge you by the value you bring. It's the truth. It's
very, very honest.
let's be honest. Like I know people who do not speak to their fathers anymore because when they were born, their fathers left them, and that was it. Then they will have no emotional connection to the father because the father wasn't there.
Yeah.
So while I want to value you as a human being, which I think is the baseline for every human being, the way I would treat you, the extent to which I would go for you, like the sister went for him, is going to be somewhat dependent on your value, either on your potential value, what you can become, or what you have already done in the past. So it is why sometimes I say this because some people say, "Hey, I'm your sister," or "I'm your brother," or "I'm this," and so therefore you must die on this cross for me, or you must do some certain things for me.
Yeah.
But it made me realize that this Gregory decided to do something for his sister that his family, that their father and mother didn't want to do for her. So for me, that is enough for his sister to say, you know what, I'm going to handle this thing. Put in extra effort. The second, the fourth symbolism that I find, and I think this is where I want us to spend a little bit more time. Gregory it's known to him, to everybody in his household and his manager, that he's a bug. And he starts hiding away. And you see, like, there's a particular description in the book where he goes under the bed and he was hiding. He was ashamed. And his sister comes in to change his food. And every time his sister is coming in, he knows that he doesn't want to be confronted by the disgust or the shame from his sister. So he hides. And again, symbolism, it made me realize that a lot of times when we go into the rock bottom situation, we want to run away from the people who first love us the most, and second, who can actually help us, who can ameliorate that particular situation. And I wondered, why was he really running away from his sister? Was he ashamed of who he was, or was he doing it to protect her feeling, or was he doing it to protect himself or his sister? So what do you have to say on that particular in that particular scenario that the book presents?
I think again, like I said earlier, he just owns the identity of a bug. You're not going to walk into a room and the bug is So I think he just owned the entire, like, the identity of a bug, and maybe definitely not fear, or he wasn't afraid that she was going to smash him like normal bugs would, but it was just he then started to see his sister as superior.
Correct.
Not that she can help him out of this situation, not that she's coming to check in on him actually, but he just didn't feel among anymore. So I don't think it was shame.
Okay.
I don't think it was shame. I don't know what it was, but I don't think it was shame.
Okay,
I don't think it was shame.
I felt it was more of not shame on that he's a bug, but he didn't want to face the reality. I felt like reading it, my feeling, and again, you can see I'm using the word feeling here because philosophical books don't tell you exactly what is happening.
Exactly.
They
Very
almost
true. It's there for you to fill in the gap.
Exactly. It's there for you to fill in the gap. So there was nothing cast in stone here, but I felt that his sister was like a mirror that reflected who he truly was. So this is what I mean. This guy was the first person to know he was a bug.
Right.
And when they were knocking on the door, he didn't shout. I was thinking, why didn't you scream? I said, what? People should come inside. There's problem. Oh. And he was trying to manage it inside. He was trying to say, "Oh, now don't worry, I'll join you guys later. I know I'll be late for work. I'll catch the next train." And while he was that bug, I don't think he saw himself as a bug. And when I say see himself as a bug in the value of who a bug is.
Mm-hmm.
I think his sister and even the manager coming up and the people around him always highlighted that to him. So he wasn't ashamed of being a bug. He was ashamed of facing the image of that presented itself in the mirror, in the eyes of his family. So now to really unpack this or to even make this even more pragmatic, it's like you're not doing so well. Life happens. And you may be okay. Like you're just a local champion, you're not doing so well. And then you get thrown into a midst of people who are doing great. They have their family together, they have their life together, they have the master's degree, and at that point, your insecurities get highlighted. Not that they were never there, they were always there. You were not
right.
But those people showing up or you being amongst them almost highlights that
I'm really not this.
I'm not really you get, and then you now get to highlight who you really are, which is not in a bad way, but
it's just reality.
It's just reality.
Yeah.
It's just the reality. So I think that's why he wasn't ashamed that it's like saying people are not ashamed that they don't have cars. People are ashamed that they don't have cars and people of their particular age bracket or world bracket, whatever, have cars. That's how I interpret. That's how I interpreted his being ashamed. The second symbolism I also want to hear from you is he was a bit more concerned about what his parents were saying, that he always goes to the wall to listen.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering, why did he, I mean, obviously, they will have nothing good to say, but why did he care about what his parents were going to say? When he knew that they were never going to say anything good, they didn't show up for him. They weren't as caring for him as his sister. Why? Why do you think? I mean, this may be a hard question, but what do you have to say around that?
So, when I read that part, or when that was displayed for me, I think it was more like he started to not he started, but he just accepted that I am not this person to my parents anymore.
Yeah.
Especially with the fact that I am forever incapable of providing XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. And I think he got validation a lot from being able to do that.
Correct.
And just be humans, like you already know that without this thing, they're not going to see you the same way.
Yeah.
But I think he just wanted to always listen. Yeah. He wanted to hear. He wanted to, okay, yes, this is it. This is actually how they feel. Not that it will matter, not that it will change anything, but he just needed, just to further crush himself. Really, just to further crush himself. Like, I don't think that it wasn't anything that he didn't know, but because the validation, he would never get it anymore.
He turned to the poison. So so basically he couldn't get the validation from his parents. Now he suddenly now turns to the poison that could make it worse. And so the reason I use the word poison again, you see, when you read this like, but my point is, it's like the child who was always criticized growing up. When you do something great, they come to you and they're telling you, oh, I've done something, and they're expecting you to appreciate them and show them love. And when you don't do when you don't do that, what they realize is that when you don't do that, which what I'm trying to say is, when you criticize destructively more than you appraise, everything you're going to say, they expect is going to be destructive criticism. So what I see in that particular scenario in the book was, Gregory was struggling. He was like, you know what? I'm a bug. I mean, can it get any worse? What worse can they say? The worst they'll say is that I'm a roach, but he was also somewhat behind his mind, hoping. I think he was hoping that his parents would not be who they ended up becoming, which is someone kind, or was hoping that they were going to be more reasonable. He was hoping that whatever he hears in their conversation, he'll hear empathy, he'll hear sympathy, he would hear care. But again, he further proved his point that his parents saw him, in my opinion, as a tool for their own poverty, if I can use the word poverty and alienation. So that is my understanding of his. So now I think to wrap this, to have the final section of this conversation, is what? This is an interesting question. Do you think that people should read this book? No, I should start. Okay, yes. Do you think we should read this book? Yes or no? If it's yes, why, and what rating would you give the book, and why would you give it that rating?
I think everybody should read the book. I think everybody should read the book. Why? Because it opens your mind to. Again, this is not everybody's. This is how, for me personally, it's opened my mind and my thinking to what can I do outside of provision for the people around. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think if you have such battles, or if you're not sure of what the answer is, you can definitely read the book. You should read the book. And I'll give it a...
Out of 5. 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. What would you give?
It gives a 4.5.
4.5 is a very huge number.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So for me, to be honest, I know it's a great book. I don't think everybody should read the book. And the reason is because I don't know what the book is going to do to you.
No, I don't think it can do any harm. Do you think it can do any harm to anybody?
Not harm in a maniacal way. I think so let me tell you why. The reason I'm scared of saying it, because sometimes it's almost like a mirror. Like, for example, the book made you ask questions that were already there. It's not, you didn't become a new person by reading the book. It highlighted things. And if you're matured enough to accept these questions, but some people will read it and they're like, maybe I'm actually this boggle, and how they respond to it is maybe very, very different. So I'm generally speaking, I'm very careful to suggest philosophical books to people. I think everyone should read Man's Search for Meaning, the one we reviewed last month. But any other philosophical book, especially this one, I'm a bit careful, because I'm like, I don't know how you're going to handle it. I mean, look at how we both read this book, and we have very different.
Yeah, true. Actually,
we have very, very different. So, do I recommend the book? Yes. For everyone, I'm going to be very careful. I won't say yes for everyone, but I think why the book asks you the hard questions, and if you're able to realize that these questions exist, you don't have to get the answers to the question. You just have to know that these questions exist. If you're able to know that these questions exist, and you are willing to either pursue the answer for it, I think you're going to live a better life. If I'm going to read the book, to be honest, I'm going to read the book at 4.7. And the reason I'm going to read it at 4.7, The reason I put it in
Rightly so.
4.7 is apart from the philosophy, apart from the didactic aspect of the book, the writing was it was so clear. It was
Yeah.
like you could almost
Was
see
raw.
the room. It was
Raw is
very
my
raw.
yeah.
Yeah, do you get it? So, and that's number one. Number two is, and it's like when you read Friedrich Nietzsche, and I'm not recommending Friedrich Nietzsche here, but I'm saying you read a book like Friedrich Nietzsche, like Will to Power. It's so abstract that you can live there not understanding anything. But this book is so pragmatic. It's like he had a needs lessons that you would learn without knowing that you're learning them.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's enveloped into it. So that's my rating of the book. So that's it. That's what we have come to understand about ourselves by reading Metamorphosis. Thank you so much, Nia.
Thank you.
So, with one last thing before we wrap up, next month, the month of November, we are going to read a very interesting book. I mean, many of you know this book already. Remember, we are still in the existential month. We're going to read the book of Job. Yes, the book of Job. Job. And if you are in this side of the faith, you understand that Job suffered and he suffered greatly. And we are trying to do the reason why we are choosing this month of November is we want to understand suffering. Yeah, I mean, understand suffering. What is suffering? How to suffer well? But again, I won't give you all the details now. But that's what it is. So thank you all so much, and please use everything there. For please let me thank her. She's been a very awesome guest. I really enjoyed this conversation. So again, this is the chapter room from the Nebula House, and we are going to be presenting you guys with many other things, from 30 days word series to writing challenges to an academy. We hope to launch an academy by next year where we'll be talking about these things. And if it's strange to you that we have people, Nigerians, talk about philosophy, it is strange to me that I talk about it myself. So we are all on the same boat. But regardless, thank you, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you.